Falmouth dropping a heartbreaking loss once again tonight here in Brewster, a team they defeated by a lot. 12 runs their last time tonight, a much different story in the entirety of the game. Welcome into Closing the Door, Matt Levine, alongside my broadcast partner, David Hadar. David, tonight, it seemed like Falmouth had it. Coming in tonight, 3 wins in a row. They were hot, they were up by 2 runs, 3-1, and then all of a sudden, it's gone just like that.
Well, they had a 3-1 lead, and the bullpen was on, and that was where we were saying on the broadcast the strength for this team during this 3-game winning stretch. And it had been such a big help for them how well the bullpen had been playing over these last 3 games. And it was a big part of the reason that Falmouth even was able to win 3 straight games, because they, in a couple of those, didn't have too many runs come across, but the bullpen held the offense for opposing teams at bay. Coming into tonight, the bullpen for the Commodores had combined for 14 1/3 innings over this win stretch and had only allowed 1 run in those innings. So that was a big reason why. But tonight, a really different story. Chase Jeter comes on, has 3 innings of perfect baseball. It was 9 up, 9 down for the Whitecaps in the first 3 innings that Jeter pitched. But then he comes out for a 4th inning, gives up 3 straight base hits to start off the inning, gets pulled for Wesley Sweat. Wesley Sweat gets knocked around, ends up giving up 6 base hits of his own, and that was it for Falmouth tonight. Brewster ran away with this ball game. The bullpen, which had been so good coming into tonight, really was unsteady tonight. And it's interesting because if you look back to these last couple of losses that the Commodores have had, it's been because of late leads that have been blown by the bullpen. The offense hasn't always been there for the Commodores, but you look at Bourne last week, a late lead given up by the bullpen. You look against YD last Monday, a late lead given up by the bullpen, and same thing this past Sunday against Katuitt. So all around, just shaky stuff from them tonight ends up dooming them.
And going off that, the late leads blown by the bullpen, it seems like every single time after that, the offense just goes flat. They stranded a couple guys on in the 8th inning, Falmouth did, after giving up the 5 runs, and then all of a sudden, they give up 2 more runs on the mound. It's just things like that that I can't seem to put my head on it, or point my finger to what the problem is. But when they give up those leads late, it just seems like every time the offense quiets down.
It certainly does. And not only does the offense quiet down, just the entire mood around the team feels like a complete 180 from when they're winning and when they're having fun. I mean, we can point to the during the 3-game winning streak, the dugout was up, always at the edge, making a lot of noise, getting into it, and just finding ways to hype themselves up, hype the crowd up, and do all that. But tonight, once that lead was taken back by Brewster, that was it from the team, and that spark that they needed wasn't quite there. And we, like I was saying, we've seen late leads get blown or be given up, but they just, like you said, haven't been able to then come back from that. And they need that spark late in a ball game to have that fight, have that determination to come out of the game with a victory, because it doesn't seem like once they give it up late, they nearly have that. But it was just when Brewster scored 5 runs and then 2 more in the 8th, it just was too much at that point for this Falmouth team to overcome.
And 3 errors tonight, 1 in the 1st inning that allowed a run to score from Taylor Smith. He threw it into left field. You had a couple more in the 7th inning, and 2 of those guys either came around to score or a run scored off the error. And it's shocking to me. I don't know if I've ever seen a team score the same amount of runs that they have put up errors in the same game. Just things like that have been so good over the last couple of days, and maybe even a week and a half they've been so good. But the errors tonight just doomed the Commodores once again.
Well, along with the bullpen being shaky tonight, the errors also were something that Falmouth had really cleaned up, like you said, over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, and had really had gotten out of their system, and that was a big part of the reason why Falmouth was getting back to its winning ways, was because the defense was really clean and was really solid for them. Early on in the season, there was a point where Falmouth led the entire Cape Cod League in errors, and they hadn't had too many coming into tonight. They had 1 yesterday against Wareham, but otherwise they had been pretty clean defensively over the last week and a half. But tonight, 3 errors, which is the most that they've had in a ball game since June 26th. So you have to go back to essentially the opening week of the season when Falmouth had that many errors in a ball game, a game where they had 4 against Harwich. So shaky defense tonight allowed Brewster to get the first couple of runs to tie up the ball game. But then it was the bullpen from there that just gave up some hits. But like I was saying, errors have frequently for Falmouth this season led to runs being scored by the opposition. And it's not just, you get an error, but then you're able to shake it off and get through the inning. It leads to runs. And that is another issue that this team has to try and work out of its system, because clean up maybe 5 of the errors that Falmouth has had on this season, and they could have a totally different record from what they do now.
A really tough loss tonight. Tough all around offensively, pitching, and in the field defensively. But now we'll bring in the third member of our crew, Joanne Bethea.
Thanks, guys. Coach, when this team is hot, they're hot, and when this team is cold, they're cold. What needs to happen for this team to be more consistent?
I think we just got to find a little bit of a rhythm. I know we found a rhythm there in 3 games, and we had one tough break here today, but it's back to work tomorrow and find that rhythm.
Before the game, I asked Coach Trundy what was different about this team this past week, and he said that he finally felt these players were playing for one another. How do you, as a coach, remind them of this mindset after a frustrating loss?
Yeah, I think they finally started to play as a team. They're starting to know each other and understand how they play together. So we really didn't do anything too bad tonight, just one bad inning. So we're not too worried. These guys will get back at it tomorrow.
I always like to ask after a loss, what were some positives that came out of tonight?
I think we had some big positives. Chris Armstrong continues to swing the bat well. We had some guys compete on the mound that threw really well. Chase Jeter really dominated out there, so that's a huge positive. And Sweat really pitched well. He just kind of got some unlucky hits, but on the mound we did a great job. We just got to play a little bit better defense behind him.
Awesome, thanks, Coach. Falmouth going down tonight, but they will be back on the road tomorrow taking on Harwich. I'm Joanne Bethea, closing the door along Matt Levine and David Hadar.